much else to say. There's not much else to do. It's the biggest win since the Florida game of last year. Mikey Keane, Mikey Superman, came in, saved the day. And my God, if my voice cracks a couple times, if I sound like a 13-year-old girl, it's because I screamed a lot and I maybe went a little too crazy. But at the end of the day, we got a huge dub. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Charge On. As always, I am your host, Sean Green. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is why we do this, Nick. This is why we do this podcast and why we created it and why we stay up until midnight to record these shows, because we love this team. And regardless, it's ups and downs, right? Last week, we're looking at this team after a 34-13 loss, and we're like, where do we go from here? You just got your butt whooped to ECU, and now you're going to play ranked Cincinnati, who hasn't lost a conference game in 18 straight games, right? 19. And, Nick, we're at the game. Me and you went to the game. We had a great time. UCF, there was no question who the better team on the field was today, Nick. No question.
Yeah. First of all, you talk about the love of the team. Obviously I live in Tampa, so I made the trip up there and the trip back home, which was a 3-hour trip that I did not see coming. And here we are just past midnight that we're recording this, but we're still ready to go. I definitely wanted to get this in as it's fresh on our minds, because it was a very, very fun 4 hours just about this game was, and really enjoyed it. And you said it, no question about it. UCF was the best team. And I guess we got to give you your props here, because you've been on this all year long. You said that you were a little scared of the East Carolina game, and you really didn't have many concerns for the Cincinnati game. And you look at the scoreline, 25-21. UCF had to get their last score with just under a minute left to take the lead. I truly think it would have been a travesty if UCF didn't win this game. They probably should have won it by multiple scores. And in fact, that's kind of what Gus Malzahn said after the game. There was more meat on the bone here. And, that's kind of that's the only bothersome part here, is they should have put this game away a lot earlier, and it shouldn't have been as stressful. But you know what? UCF's an enigma. They are an enigma week to week. You don't know what you're getting. You try to figure out what they are, who they are. And every single week you got a different answer. But we can tell you, after this Cincinnati game, they control their own destiny now in the American. And that's all you could have hoped for.
Guys, basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. Listen, we said it, right? We said you come into this game, you win this game, and your season's here. Everything is ahead of you. You lose this game, and you're thinking, who's the bowl game? Let's make sure we get to 6 wins, and who are we playing, right? Listen, and I don't like to toot my own horn, and I do, but
you do.
I don't know what it was. I do. I'm not going to lie. And, for a second I was trying to, but I watched Cincy every game, and they just didn't impress me. And I think we matched up very well against them. And yeah, I almost even got the score right. I said 24-20, and it was 25-21. Couldn't have foreseen a safety. That's something you don't see every game, Nick. But I don't know. And now I definitely couldn't have seen Mikey Keane coming in. That's for sure. So, this game was all over the place. And I think we were just sitting in the stands, right? And we were just like looking up at the yards, especially the rushing yard difference. And we're sitting and looking at the score at halftime. And Nick, I think both me and you, and I think every UCF fan, was probably just looking like, how are we not up by more at this point? And especially in the second half, but even in the first half, we're like, I don't know how Cincy's sticking around, because we were controlling the clock, running all over them, making all the plays, and we didn't even do the turnovers until the second half.
Yeah, first of all, you got to start with the defensive effort in this one. after they got boat raced in East Carolina, it was not close, right? And to come out in this game to make Cincinnati one-dimensional, right? This is not the quarterback that you want to have throw 45 times in a game. It's just not. Ben Bryant is not that cat that you want to throw 45 times in a game. And by the way, I thought, he made some really good throws. He was under duress at times in this game, and I thought he did well. He battled, but they definitely wanted to run the ball, and they tried, but they had to quickly go away from it because UCF, shout out to their front seven, shout out to Travis Williams and this defensive staff. They set the tone right away and said, you're not running on us. You're not doing it. You're going to have Ben Bryant. You're going to have to beat us through the air. Your skill weapons, which I don't honestly see a lot of speed on that Cincinnati offense. It did not pop at all for me from the stands today. I think that was the game plan, and it worked to perfection. So you definitely start with the defensive effort. And yeah, Cincinnati, we kind of knew it already. This is not the team of yesteryear. It's not. There are some bright spots there, but I thought UCF in every way, I thought UCF was the better team and deserved the victory.
In all three phases. I mean, again, we could count special teams. Their kicker's phenomenal. I mean, they have a great field.
Yeah, their one punter, he did have a great punt. Did have a great punt.
But he's Australian. We have an Australian punter. They got an Australian punter.
Yeah, he did the bow too.
I don't know.
He did the bow too after he downed it at like the one or whatever. So
I mean, but credit where credit's due. But on the defensive and offensive side, I mean, especially defensively, they kept this team afloat. And we're not going to say the offense was bad. The offense moved the ball the entire afternoon.
Really,
there's only a couple spurts. Yeah, like imposed their will, especially the offensive line. But yeah, let's give the defense all the credit they deserve, which we have for most of the season. Last week, it was a stinker. I mean, there's no question about it. 34 to ECU, only one punt. God awful. One of the probably, if you look at worst performance of the year, that's probably at the end of the day going to be it. But to come out, and I mean, third down efficiency, only allowed four third downs, which is what we talked about, right? We said since he kind of struggles on third down, and they impose their will on third down. The rushing yards, though, Nick, I think that is the main reason why UCF, I think, won this game. Because besides the big run at the end, which, we can get into the offense and the credit of the offense of coming back and scoring, but that was the only big run of the game, be it at a critical time. They had 16 rushing yards up until that run. UCF's defense, to make a team one-dimensional like that and to stop a complete part of Cincy's offense is remarkable. I mean, I literally am beyond impressed.
And it shows a lot.
How they
it shows a lot about these
game.
Players because I mean, you're only a week removed from what happened in East Carolina, and you think about the adversity that they faced, and it's hard, man. It is hard to get your ass kicked and then 7 days later get back on it. And here comes maybe the best team on your schedule that you're facing. It is hard. And guess what their strength is? They want to run the football. But I mean, UCF just didn't let it happen. And I want to get to a name real quick because we haven't mentioned him much on this pod. Yeah. We talk a lot about Baptiste. We talk a lot about Trayvon Morris-Brash and Salazar. I thought Ricky Barber was fantastic today. I really did. I mean, he's been around this program for a while. And in the middle, I thought he got interior pressure. He almost got – it's a shame he didn't get credited with the sack today. Very close, but on that last drive, I mean, it got loud. That's one of the loudest moments I've had in that stadium was on that final drive. And Ricky Barber on that first play blew it up. Cincinnati still had, 48 seconds to go down the field. And that first play, Ricky Barber getting free and nearly bringing down Ben Bryant for the sack was all it took. So quick shout out there to Ricky Barber because I think that's one of his finest performances in a UCF uniform.
And do you know, and this is in the heat of the moment, I didn't even see who got it, but the strip sack or the strip of the football, I think it was KD McDaniel. Don't hate on me, UCF fans. At that point, I was a little just going too crazy, and
you were a bit crazy,
jumping up and down.
Yeah, it was KD McDaniel.
My knee is. That's what I thought. What a play! I think there's two big plays defensively, which I think the safety, obviously, huge play, especially after a turnover, and that. I mean, they still had 56 seconds left. after scoring. And listen, I had so much confidence at that point. I mean, they had no timeouts. They had to go the length of the field. And to get that strip and basically end the game, huge play by the defense. And yeah, Ricky Barber played phenomenal. We were talking, give Cincinnati's offensive line, though, credit. I mean, realistically, there was a couple quarterback pressures. For the most part, it was tough sledding for that D-line. Like, Ben Bryant had time to throw the ball, and he is so accurate. We were talking about it at the game, Nick, and you can talk to Ben Bryant's, performance a little bit more, but thrown to the sideline, he is deadly accurate. They didn't throw the ball. We were talking about they didn't throw it in the middle of the field pretty much ever until it got where they needed to at the end of the game. But he was deadly accurate. And credit to our corners, they really stuck in there. Like Devontae Brown, Corey Thornton, they really stuck in there for the entire game and, batted some balls away that, could have been completions. So credit to them.
Yeah, but I think that was both teams. And we'll get to UCF's offense as well. But everything was to the boundary, it felt like, for both teams. That was clearly the matchups that both teams wanted to exploit. You mentioned tough sledding for the defensive line. I was kind of surprised. And again, when you're in the heat of the moment, it's hard to really judge a lot of things, but you go back and look at things and you look at some of the numbers. They did get home to Ben Bryant 4 times, and there were a couple other times that they hit him. So give them credit there. I mean, still, it's a really good unit, and they were still able to get home 4 times, but they got there at opportune times, very opportune times. And I think you kind of take that more than anything. You mentioned the safety. I thought that had flipped the entire momentum back in UCF's way. Didn't really work out that way, to be honest with you, because UCF just kept giving it right back to Cincinnati and just begging them to stay in the game. But making those key plays, those turnovers, I mean, those are what you live on, right? And UCF has struggled to get those this year, especially lately here. So that was good to see. But Ben Bryant, yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, I give him a lot of credit because that's a hard atmosphere to play in. I mean, just ask Desmond Ridder. I think he says to this day that 2018 was the toughest thing he's ever had to go through as a quarterback, right? And Ben Bryant went through that today, even though it was a day game. And I thought he stuck in there. I think Luke Fickell probably had to ask him to do more than they wanted to. Again, he's not the kind of guy that should have to sit back there and throw 45 times. But he never really put the ball in harm's way, I thought. There was one time, it was on that play where Devad Wilson ran into to Devontae Brown, I think. They both kind of went up for it, and then Devad kind of got the wind knocked out of him. That was the only ball that I think he put in harm's way. So, yeah, you give credit for Ben Bryant there a little bit.
No, yeah. And he played good. But again, when a defense just completely stops.
Yeah, and they kept everything in front of them as well. Very, very bend, not breakish for UCF's defense. I mean, I don't recall maybe one pass that went maybe like 20 yards, 25 yards, maybe 2. That's really it.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of dump off passes for sure.
Yeah, a lot of to the
but I got crowd.
Yeah.
No, say what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think I got it right here. There was a 32, a 30, a 21, and a 21, and I think a few of those were more catch after the runs there.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, it was a lot of short passes, but they started throwing it a little bit, like you said, rack yards, and it was more so towards the end of the game. There wasn't a lot of big chunk plays. There was the one early, I think it was the second quarter, because they weren't getting much, and it was, to the sideline.
Yeah, he had 2 beautiful throws, one on the right sideline and one on the left sideline. I think those were his 2 best throws of the game.
No, yeah, and I give him credit, but listen, I'm not going to sit here and before the game I said I don't think he's that good. I think this defense is going to have his way with him, and he did almost throw for 300 yards, but you never really felt like since his offense
that's only because
clicked,
they couldn't run.
They couldn't run the ball. Let's talk about the crowd before we get into Super Keane. We started at the beginning, we were a little nervous because I don't think a lot of people were in their seats, and I was a little PO'd. I'm going to be honest. I was like, we need to be ready from kickoff, man. Why is there 50% of the stadium empty? I'm like, the student sections were filled out. Then 5 minutes in, it was sold out. I mean, and it felt, Nick, there's been a couple games in my life that have felt like tonight. and that was the Cincy game from game day and the Memphis American Championship game with Daryl Mack starting. Those have been the two other instances where I have not been able to hear myself think. Night Nation came out. I have one criticism, and with saying, even without this part of the stadium, I think Night Nation showed out and made that an incredibly difficult play. Like, again, Ben Bryant probably, like, that you couldn't hear. Like, it was deafening. The noise was deafening, especially at the end of the game. Students that are still at UCF, if you go to a game, I get it. It's Halloween. You probably had plans. If you show up in the first quarter against the number 20th ranked team in the country, do not leave at halftime. That is the only thing. The one student section was great. The other student section, really, half the section left at halftime. We were up. So that frustrated me, but you would have never noticed it. I will say that. You would have never noticed it with the sound because it was deafening in the bounce house.
Gus Malzahn said that after the game as well. He said that crowd really aided them and helped them, and that's what the bounce house was. That's college football. I mean, that right there was the best of the best, and, you know, I think there was a lot of big recruits who were on the sideline as well, who got to see the atmosphere at nearly the best that it can be, obviously to see a win over a big ranked opponent. So that's a big thing as well. But yeah, I think the crowd was directly responsible for the push for UCF's defense at the end of that game. I really did. I just, no chance Cincinnati on that last drive. I had full confidence because of the crowd.
Oh, and I give Cincinnati credit because the drive prior where they did go down and score, it was deafening too. It was deafening, and they went down and put it in the end zone. So, but there was no chance in hell that second, like with the 58 seconds, there was nothing they were going to do. I mean, the crowd was way too into it. I think the crowd, it felt like we always believed. Even when we were down by 3, I was sitting there and I'm like, we have 3 minutes left. Mikey's going to throw some dots.
We knew UCF,
and this crowd is into it.
Yeah, we knew UCF could move the ball. I think that's why the confidence in the fan base there just never wavered, because they really, again, they were moving the ball at will. That was not the problem in this game, and we'll get into it now, what the problems really were that kept this game so close.
Yeah, but before we do that, I do want to mention the recruits because you brought it up. They had, I forgot the number. I think it's over 100 recruits at this game. I have to look that up, but they had big time recruits, people that have committed, like John Walker, at this game. And if I'm a recruit and I went to this game today, I don't think there's any better pitch of what UCF stands for. The atmosphere, the fans, the team, the camaraderie, than this game. It was the perfect storm. You had a sold-out crowd that showed up, that was loud. We haven't seen that, and no offense to UCF crowd. Look, unfortunately, if this is what I'm saying, and I really commend, in a couple weeks, Navy, is the crowd going to show up, right? UCF fans are just like that sometimes. If we're not playing a big opponent, it's never sold out. It's great that we come and sell out Cincy, right? But let's sell out every game. But as a recruit, and I saw Caven Call, he was walking up one of our sections. The smile on these guys' faces and seeing the atmosphere and having people know who you are and why, like, hey, come to UCF. Gus is probably smiling from ear to ear because he knows I probably just flipped a couple recruits to be like, whoa, I want to play in that atmosphere. ESPN 330, beating a ranked opponent, Big 12. I mean, and that's the thing. I feel like we can get those crowds every single game next year because every opponent is a quality opponent. You're not playing no SC State on your home opener. So, I don't know, Nick, talk a little bit about recruiting. And do you think after this game specifically, UCF might have flipped some guys or maybe got a couple commitments after this game?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. But, recruiting is so hard to put your finger on because a lot of these guys and the guys who UCF are recruiting now, it's not like UCF's the big dog anymore. in some of these recruiting battles. They're going after some 4 stars, in some case 5 stars, And so UCF really has to have a day like today to really stand out, because there's incredible atmospheres all over college football, and these guys are going to go take other visits as well. So you have to keep that in mind. I think what's most important, you have to worry about yourself in your program. And I just think everything from the on the field presentation, the black end zones, it looked great. It's going to kill the grass. It's going to kill the grass. Well, you got one more game left. That's all you got to get through it. So you just got to get through it. The nightmare uniforms, I really enjoyed that with the black and gold. Just always changing those things that recruits love, and those are important.
And listen, we were talking about it, right? We were like, those are clean, but it also is like 150 degrees outside. So probably not the smartest thing.
Probably not the smartest thing in the world.
They looked clean.
But they look clean. They did look clean. So even the attention to detail, I was like, they did like the duck game or whatever, or the oh my goodness, what do you call it? They usually do the hat
homecoming.
Shuffle. Yeah, like the hat shuffle. But they did it with a duck this time.
Yeah, yeah.
But they did it with a duck. I love how they like. I just never have noticed this stuff, and I love how they personalize it for every week. They did it with a duck. They had the field with the black end zone, and they had like the nightmare helmet and everything. So just the attention to detail in general. So nice. I think UCF, they are on their game in the things that matter, and I think recruits notice these things. I really do. But they notice winning, and they notice a team that put up over 500 yards of offense. They notice a team that really locked down defensively. They notice a team that took down a team that was in the college football playoff last year. Those things all matter. So if you're going off of what you saw, that was an A+ recruiting pitch from what you saw on the field today.
Yeah, it can't get much better than that. We'll see. Couple more months, not even. We'll see if some of these guys sign on early National Signing Day. I know National Signing Day is in February, but we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a couple commitments here in the next couple weeks, especially after that game. I know it's been a while. We haven't talked about offense, but
the elephant in the room.
First of all, I know, right? I think most people would start off with offense, but we just do it different here at Charge On. We give credit to the defense first. But first of all, we want to say prayers to JRP. I don't know what it is about these bad concussions, especially in the NFL. It looks so much like Tua, how it happened, and you never want to see that happen. The hit, and then Cincy being the disgusting thing Cincy was doing after that hit, it's despicable.
Yeah, and Kamori Gamble gets the unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's absolutely ridiculous too. And yeah, not much. Listen, I could say a lot of not so great things about Cincy right now. After that, there was one player that was acting like he was woozy after it, and I'm like, that's just way too far. You can go dab up your teammate, but there's nothing to be happy about knocking a starting quarterback out, and he was out. So prayers to him. I hope he, I don't think he's going to play next week. I don't know if he plays for the next couple weeks. I think that was a big hit. And with concussions these days, you want to be 100% sure that they're not going to have any long-lasting problems after the fact. Again, perfect to a situation, throw him out, get another concussion. So prayers to JRP. Hope he's doing well. But man of the hour, man of the game, everybody wanted to talk bad about this guy and say he's not it. He sucks. JRP, he does way more with the ball. Not saying us. I'm saying a lot of UCF Twitter just wrote Mikey Keane off. And this guy just came in as a sophomore, even though, he feels like he's a vet, came in and beat, there's no question, running game, yes, but he went out and was so accurate, Nick. He was immensely accurate with the football.
Hadn't played since that Florida game in the Gasparilla Bowl. It had been, what are we, 10 months?
About a year.
10 months since he's taken a meaningful snap in a college football game. And he comes in one of the toughest situations, right? Quarterback goes down. UCF's having turnovers. He came in right away too at the end of the first half there near the goal line. Obviously, they wanted to be conservative. They did 3 runs and punted and got to the locker room. And then he comes out and Gus revealed, I talked to him at half and we had a good discussion about, what do you feel comfortable doing? What do you want to do? And I like that from Gus because I think everybody was interested. Okay, how's this going to work? Because there's a reason why Mikey's not playing because it's the system. It's all a system thing. That's why JRP's playing. And it came out and there was a lot of the same things, the sweeps and all that stuff. And I think Gus did a really good job of kind of adapting though a little bit at times because there were the first 2 drives. I think they were still trying to figure out what can Mikey do. And you remember there was 2 plays in a row where they had him roll out to his left, which was odd.
Yeah.
And he had to throw it away. And I don't think we saw that again after that. We saw a much more, in the shotgun, make your reads, be decisive. And I think that is the thing that stuck out to me the most about Mikey Keane in this game was his decisiveness. He knew where he wanted to go with the football, and he didn't think twice. He just slang it. And I thought he had some really good zip on his throws. I mean, we remember he was a true freshman last year. He was a true freshman. That arm's going to keep getting stronger. And I see a noticeable uptick in velocity. I really did. And I'm just going to be honest, and I'm not trying to put him down or anything. We're separating his play and what happened on the field. I don't think John Rice Plumlee makes a lot of those throws. I just don't. I really don't. I mean, it's little things too. Mikey Keane, when he was pressured, he had the wherewithal to throw it away rather than take a hit or go down, whatever it was. He had the wherewithal to throw it away. He even had one time where he scrambled really good and he was hyped. And it got me hyped in the stands. I know it got you hyped, just feeding off of his energy. I thought the team fed off his energy. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but both healthy. And I know that there are other circumstances to get in here, the red shirt stuff, but I just think given the opponent, the situation, I think Mikey Keane's your guy. I really do. I thought the offense I know the offense has been great all season long, honestly, statistically, even though I think it's been a bit inconsistent, but statistically it's one of the best in the nation. I thought it flowed a lot better with Mikey Keane in there. I really did.
Yeah. It's hard because, like you said, prisoner of the moment. We did this after SC State, right? We're like, JRP had a crazy game. Oh my gosh, he's amazing, right? I think, I mean, but I don't think people quite understand. And I'm not saying UCF fans, but I think if we told a random Joe on the side of the road, this kid didn't play for the last 10 months, got benched pretty much. I mean, got told you're the backup. We're going to take this guy that was playing wide receiver over you. I know you just got one of our biggest wins in program history against the Florida Gators in a bowl game.
Got better every game.
We know that. We got better every game, got thrown in there when you weren't supposed to play. We're going to sit you. And then you sit for however many games, you are supportive. Like Mikey, I will say that. Every time I see him on the sideline, he is a supportive guy, supportive teammate. He
could have entered the portal.
He could easily went to the portal, could have said, I'm not doing this. I'm going to just go to the portal, find my next school. Like Timmy McClain lost the job, went to the portal, scout team, but he left.
Be playing right now.
He could be playing. Mikey Keane did something tonight that I don't think many other quarterbacks in the nation can do. And listen, again, I can be prisoner of the moment. I don't know if a backup like Mikey Keane, who I don't think will be a backup after this year, whether it's with us or whether he's on another team, can come in against a ranked opponent that has won as many straight games in the conference as Cincy, who smoked us last year, where Mikey was the quarterback, smoked us, and lead your team. And not just lead them, but show some grit. Getting that close to first down, flexing your muscles, saying basically like, I own you. You're not going to do anything. I'm going to be accurate. I'm going to get my ball to the receivers, and you can't do a damn thing about it. You can't. Get to me. Try to sack me. I'm going to throw that thing out.
Yeah, and I mean, the game plan was clear. They wanted to keep throwing to the boundaries. They had the matchups they wanted. That's when Javon Baker was getting more involved in that second half, I thought, with Mikey Keane. And it was just the placement of the throws. Like, there were some of those, I mean, they were like NFL placement type throws. I mean, they really were. I mean, he was putting it to where only Baker could get it on a few of those occasions. I mean, it was, I was blown away from the performance. And I mean, you were talking about it, name another quarterback. I mean, the only thing I can think of, and the situation was a little different, was last week when Clemson, when DJU was pulled for Cade Klubnik, who was the true freshman, and he came in and was able to lead them. So, I mean, that's a kind of a situation, but I definitely see the point. I mean, it's difficult for Mikey Keane. And I think the thing that stuck out to me too was Gus Malzahn after the game. And you mentioned that he could have just got up and left already, right? And he may do that in the offseason. We don't know. He may very well do that, but he could have done it like every other player in this generation does it now. And that's fine. That's their decision. That's what the rules are. But not only has he stayed, Gus Malzahn said, oftentimes during these games, he's right next to me. And he's almost like a coach. And he's pointing out like, hey, this is not working. That's not working. Hey, coach, I think this might work. Think about that. Think about that. That is a rare trait in a player nowadays. It really is in a tough situation. But I have all the respect in the world for Mikey Keane for what he did today. You know, you look at the locker room after the game. I don't know if you saw some of the video and photos. They lifted him up, and it's like, you can see that this team loves him. Even Javon Baker went on Twitter and was like, you know, you guys have no idea how much we love this dude. Like, it's just, that's college football. That's the beauty of college football, right? And I know the red shirt stuff.
And who is the person in the bottom of the huddle? Who was one of the people that was lifting up Mikey Keane? John Rice Plumlee. Clapping, putting him on one of his shoulders, lift him up. There's nothing like it. And it says a lot about Mikey Keane, number one. And I think it also says a lot about the program right now. The fact that Mikey Keane didn't transfer and stayed, and the fact that he was contributing. He wasn't sitting on the sideline sulking, like saying, I hope they lose. I hope they don't win because I could be a starter. Like, it says a lot about the person. He loves the university. He loves the team. And listen, I think whatever happens, right? Got a long end to the season. Whether he's here or at another school, he's going to be successful.
He's a player.
And so whatever he does.
He's a player.
The kid's a sophomore.
Hey, Gus Malzahn said it. He's a winner. He's a winner. And he told that's what he told Gus before he went out, apparently. He said, Coach, don't worry. I'm gonna win you this game. We're gonna win this game. Confidence from a quarterback who hasn't played in 10 months and was benched.
And that's the thing, man. And again, JRP, listen, he was looking good at the beginning of the game. He was. I mean, he was making some good reads, especially on the RPOs and, you know, getting out of the pocket, making the throws to the sideline. Like, he was making some throws. He was making plays. But again, if UCF goes on a run here, you go to Memphis, and by all accounts, Mikey should be starting next week. You go in Memphis and you put up a good performance, I agree with you. I don't know if you can take the keys away from Mikey and say, if JRP's fine, that's nothing against JRP. That's just saying, like, listen, and here's the thing, and this is kind of the way I view it, and UCF fans, you could tell me I'm wrong for this, but this is kind of the way I view it. Gus's playbook, we know. He wants a guy that can do both. He can run, pass, you know, that's just the guy he likes. We become more of a Cincy type offense, and now we have more playmakers than Cincy. There's a reason we really wiped the floor with them on offense. Mikey Keane is Ben Bryant, right? Stays in the pocket, makes some good throws. Now, I think Mikey's better than Ben Bryant, and some people could call me crazy for that. And again, thinking of the moment, sure. Mikey is so accurate, though, and he gets the ball out so quick that, yes, the extra dimension of JRP's running and, you know, the extra yards, that's important, right? That is. But Mikey is so intellectually smart, and he knows how to play the position in the pocket, which we've always said is probably JR's weakness. I don't know, Nick. I think with this roster, I think Mikey Keane can bring you to a conference title and potentially New Year's Six bowl game. I think he could be the guy. We just got to see it next week and see how he progresses, because it's easy to live up in the moment, right? And we've said that.
Yeah.
It's easy. You just beat a ranked opponent and he led the team before we talk about the rushers. But I don't know. I think I have to agree with you. I think there's no way you can hand the team back if the team's performing at a high level.
Yeah, and again, I keep alluding to it, the whole red shirt thing. And Gus said that after the game. He hasn't played all year because we're trying to protect his red shirt. It's the same reason why Castellanos, he's gotten these like kind of moments in the game where it's a blowout. Hey, let's throw him in there and just, let him run, whatever. Yeah. Just give you a glimpse of the future. But we're not going to burn his red shirt. But that's why Gus kept saying, no, our backup's Mikey Keane. And in this game, here comes Mikey for his first appearance. And I understand the red shirt stuff. I get it. It's a tough situation because there may be agreement there. Who knows? I mean, Mikey Keane, for all we know, he might have some kind of thing like, hey, guy, I know I'm going to leave after the season. Just protect my red shirt, please. Maybe. I don't know. We'll never know, right? But
yeah,
UCF is in the interest of winning football games. It is a business. College football is a business now. Okay, it is 100% a business, yeah. And Gus Malzahn's paid to win games. UCF as a program, their goal is to win football games, and I think right now you control your own destiny in the conference. You got 2 big road games coming up that are going to determine this, in my opinion, and you have a realistic shot of being that Group of 5 team to get that bid, and who gives you a better chance to win? I saw a lot more, and I know it was just one half of football, but given the opponent, like I said, and the situation, I saw a lot more consistency from Mikey Keane than I ever have from John Rice Plumlee. That's just my opinion. I think there's more to unlock there, given if you give him a whole week to prepare and put the plays in there that work for him. I think it showed that you can kind of tweak things in Gus's offense for him, and it works just fine. So, yeah, I don't want to put down JRP or anything because he has won 5 games for this team, but I think Mikey Keane's is the guy at the moment.
Now we have to move on, but I do want to ask. I might be stupid for saying this or asking this question. Do you think a little bit of it today? Because the play calls obviously were different, right? And we knew that going in. We said they're going to throw the ball. They have to throw the ball because that's Mikey's strength. I mean, is throwing the ball. He's not going to be running to the outside. Gus called a lot of games last year in this type of offense. I mean, it was Mikey's offense. Gus had in the DG offense, right? So it was very similar in the way that Gus was calling games. Do you think... Again, it was a full year of not calling the running quarterback offense. Do you think kind of Gus found it easier once Mikey came in? Like, oh, I know this. I am more comfortable. Like, this is something I've done more recently. Now, granted, he's been calling plays with JRP, so I'm not trying to say like, oh, he wasn't comfortable doing that. I'm just saying I think it was like, the repetition of the last season, as soon as Mikey came in, he's like, this play. And yeah, talking with Mikey helped, but I don't know. The play calling just flowed so much better. Yeah.
But like I said,
not that it didn't in the first half, but especially in the second half.
Yeah, but like I said, there were a few growing pains, those first couple series with Keane in there, and I thought it was primarily like, I kind of thought that Gus was like, couldn't help himself, and he tried to do the things that he wants to do with JRP. He tried to do it a little bit with Mikey Keane, and he found out quickly that's not going to work. I think everybody in the building found out that it wasn't going to work, right? All I needed to, again, I go back to those 2 plays. All I needed to see was back-to-back plays, Mikey Keane rolling out to his left, which is something that we see JRP do a lot, right? And maybe the defense recognized it both times. Maybe they didn't block it right. Maybe there was a lapse in the execution, whatever it was. It didn't work. And from there on, we saw a different thing. But I think the difference, too, it's just you have a year in advance of Mikey Keane. And maybe not playing-wise because we haven't seen him play, but just the smarts. Everything from the neck up, I think, is there. And I still think, like I said, there was a noticeable spike in the velocity. So I think that helps as well of why it works so much better tonight than it did last year.
No, for sure. And we'll see. But let's talk 2 turnovers. Okay. It's the one negative. Now this after the second turnover, I was thinking about how I was going to open the podcast. And I remember last week, Nick, saying, you need to play a perfect game. You can't turn over the ball when you're playing a ranked opponent like Cincy. Now, clearly I was wrong because we won. But 2 turnovers in the red zone, 2 that were UCF ultimately could have beat Cincy by a lot more. There's no question. The one was kind of a Mikey Keane, RJ Harvey fault. It was more Mikey Keane. The Bowser one was strictly on Bowser. They made a good play and knocked it out. Moving forward, now I don't want to say they got lucky because they just outplayed Cincy on all sides of the football. Like, thank God UCF won because it would be a heartbreaker if they didn't because they played so well. But having those 2 turnovers, listen, Memphis, now I'm not saying Memphis is amazing, but you've got some tough opponents on the road, Memphis and Tulane. You can't win like that. Now, and I'm sure that will be an emphasis in practice. I mean, probably ball carrying and handoffs will 100% be a thing in practice. But Nick, now that the road is looking much brighter ahead, right? You can't be turning over the ball in the red zone twice on back-to-back plays. There's no way that can happen.
No, it can't happen. And that's how you lose football games. And I think that for a while there, we kind of were thinking, man, they're going to lose this game. Like, I know we got the confidence back at the end of the game once Mikey got in there and I could see what was going on. But there was still at one point where we were just like, they're going to lose this game. And it's going to be because of those 2 damn turnovers. And that's just frustrating. It's very frustrating because you get down in the red, and that's kind of the one critique I had. 3 for 6, I think, in the red zone. I mean, that's just not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. They're very fortunate today that they were able to get out with a win. And again, it's a 4-point victory that you had to get a touchdown in the last minute to do it, right? It's not always going to be that way. When you're on the road, it's going to be even more difficult for you to try to pull that off. So I told you this walking out. This is still not a finished product of a football team. Far from it. There are still issues, holes there, but I think there are with every team that's kind of going for this bid, for this New Year's Six bid. I don't think there's a perfect team or even a team I can tell you definitively, like, yeah, that's the best one. I think, obviously UCF just put themselves in that conversation. Tulane is at the top of that conversation. And outside of that, James Madison's not even eligible. Outside of that, it's like, I don't know who it is. So I think there is flaws there, but again, I think if that's my only critique of the day, you did something right.
Yeah. We'll always find something to critique, though. We'll always find something because it's true. You're always going to find something to work on. And there's definitely stuff to work on after this game for sure. But
shall you get to the biggest
You're playing a perfect game.
Shall you get to the biggest thing that we saw in this game now?
The biggest thing.
No, the best thing, I guess.
What you're thinking. Oh, well, I would say RJ Harvey is my best thing.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And that in the offensive line. Co-effort.
Yeah. Were you about to say something else?
No, I'm just leading you into it here.
Oh, okay. I actually appreciate it. I'm so used to leading
I'm doing your job for you here.
Yeah, no. RJ Harvey, man. I mean, we've been saying it. Not just me. You've been saying it. Rob's been saying it. Get RJ Harvey in. Give him the rock. Let him do what he needs to do. Credit the offensive line. We said they are awful. We said they were terrible last week. They showed us out the door. They said, screw you. We're not bad. They really manhandled that Cincy D line. But RJ Harvey, man, 2 big, huge runs to get UCF on the board. And Isaiah Bowser, too. I mean, I'm going to give him credit. The touchdown to get it to 18, he really powered it through on the Wildcat. And I said, listen, you hand it to him 4 times. Give it to him. Like, if we don't get it after these 4 times, then, that's on us. But credit to Bowser. But yeah, man, RJ Harvey, Nick, there's just something about him. I don't know. He just looks like a dominant running back. The defense he finds the holes.
It's the vision. It's the vision. His vision is top notch. And beyond that, I'll go back to that play in the first quarter where they do that little slip screen, I guess it was, and Plumlee kind of overthrew him, and he just one-handed it right out of the air. And I turned to you, and I'm like, he's him. He is. Like, that's the guy. That's the guy. And if you look at kind of the snaps and the box score and the carries and all that kind of stuff, every single game, he's been kind of just getting more and more and more and creeping towards Isaiah Bowser. And then here we go tonight. He gets 18 carries for 88 yards, and Bowser gets 14 for 59. So there you go. RJ Harvey, he's running back 1. He's running back 1.
Yep.
He is running back 1 on this team. Again, it flows a lot better. Isaiah Bowser, we've talked about it this year. He doesn't look like the same running back. Either that or they're just not blocking well enough for him. Probably a mixture of both. I like him in the Wildcat situations at the goal line. He's great at that. He's a good change of pace guy, but RJ Harvey can do it all. He is an absolute stud right now. And my only complaint is I wish we had seen more of him at the beginning of the year, but he's here now, and that's really all that matters. And then, but it was all around, even the running game in general. I mean, Cincinnati does a really good job of stopping the run, and you run for 271 on them. I mean, they were doing a lot with the sweeps and everything to Ryan O'Keefe. I mean, Ryan O'Keefe was basically like a third running back in this game. And it was working. I think it was 6 for 51 for him. So, again, UCF established themselves on the ground in this game, and I think they just wore out Cincy's defense a lot.
Oh, it was bully ball. And you even said it was more towards the end of the game, since he just kept rotating.
They were rotating. You watched the last couple drives. They were rotating 4 defensive linemen after every play. There would be 2 come off, 2 come on, 2 come off, 2 come on. The same 4 guys after every singular play, because I think they were just gassed.
It's bully ball. They couldn't do anything. It's like, at the end of the day, and that's why I think UCF had all the confidence. As an offense, it's like when you see that, it's like, how can you not be confident? Like, okay, they're literally subbing out every single play because we are just dominating them on the line of scrimmage. I mean, that just shot UCF's confidence up sky high. And I do think, game plan-wise, this was the best way to use Bowser. I don't mind the 14 carries. Like, you listen, and it's not saying don't use him until you get into the red zone. I mean, you used him when you were in your own, on the 50. It's 3rd and 1. You wildcat it. You use him. I mean, we used him perfectly. He's not your starting first down back. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, he was that last year. He's not that this year. And it's fine, but use him where you can. RJ Harvey is your first down back, 1st and 2nd, and even on 3rd and 4th down sometimes. Bowser, you bring him in on certain downs, and it works perfectly fine. He still got up numbers. He still scored a touchdown. But RJ Harvey scored your 2 biggest touchdowns of the game, and they weren't 2-yard runs. They were far out runs. The last one of the game, I can't remember how far it was, but I feel like it was 15 yards, if I remember correctly. But it was an incredible run.
Yeah, that's one thing UCF has just been able to do this year is run the football. I mean, I went back and looked, and they haven't even factored in yet this game, but I take out Air Force, Navy, and Army because that's what they do. You're just behind Oregon and Ole Miss and running the football. That's it. You're third. You're third in
pretty good
football. You're 6th in total offense behind Tennessee, Georgia, TCU, Ohio State, and Oregon. It's 5 top 10 teams. I mean,
yep.
I think that's the thing that's crazy. This is a 2-loss team that scored 20 points one game, or 14 against Louisville, rather, and 13 against East Carolina, and 27 against Georgia Tech, which I thought was underwhelming. They've been kind of hit or miss, it feels like, offensively. Yeah. But look at the numbers. There is so much meat on the bone here for UCF to really get going here. And I hope they find it. I really hope they do. They still got 4 games to go here, and we'll see what after. But I still think this is a capable offense. And tonight I think was the best. And yeah, again, and then you have to go to the offensive line. Cincinnati came into this game leading the FBS in sacks. Leading. How many sacks do they have today, Sean? 0.
I think 0, right?
0. They got 1 on Plumlee.
0.
They got 1 on Plumlee. That was it.
Yeah. 0. We'll just say
Hell of
0.
a job. Hell of a job.
No, that was a great performance by them. And they've gotten so much flack this season.
They have.
So many people just saying they are the worst, they stink. So to come out like that, I mean, give them all the credit. And we didn't even have time, but wide receivers, they played outstanding today.
Yeah,
like a couple drops. But I mean, same guys. They did like Javon Baker, him, O'Keefe, him, Kobe Hudson, him. And because again, Mikey Keane was putting some zip and they showed out. So great win. Now, it could go one of two ways, Nick. Right? Biggest win, you beating a ranked Cincy, a team you haven't beat in however many years, a team that was in the college football playoff last year. Everybody picked you to lose, even though you were favored, but we don't talk about that. Everybody picked us to lose. Everybody on game day picked us to lose, right? There's some confidence here, right? And yeah, you don't have JRP right now, but you can go one of two ways. You could live up to the moment and say, it's our destiny. We're the best team in this conference. We just need to play like it. And I think they are. They've got the best players. You just need to play better than the teams that you're playing. You've got Memphis, you've got Tulane, you've got Navy, and you have the team in Tampa that is basically UCF. Not talent-wise, they're basically a UCF team. I mean, that will be a UCF home game on November 26th. All right? So, I don't know. I want just give your final thoughts and kind of what you're thinking. I'm just thinking the sky's the limit for this team, and it's up to this team to kind of grab it and say, we're not going to let Memphis or Tulane take it from us because this season's ours.
Yeah, I still don't think they've played their best football, to be honest with you, but I thought in this game they came very close to it in all facets. And I say that in a game where they scored 25 points, but I saw a lot of what I liked about this offense, particularly in the running game, the offensive line we just mentioned, and the new wrinkle with the quarterback, right? I saw a defense that I thought put its heart out in this one. Opportune tackles and sacks, and of course the one safety, the turnover. And then, of course, special teams, which ever since Boomer has gotten in there has been fantastic. So I think Gus Malzahn said it best after the game. We're not going to let what happened in East Carolina happen again. He's not saying we're going to do our best. No. He came out right away and said, that's on me. I got to get these guys ready to go, and that's not going to happen ever again. And so, you know what? I got confidence in that. Yeah. I don't think they're going to slip up again.
No, we'll see. I don't think so either, but we just got to keep getting better. Huge, huge, huge win. Must win is what we said. It was a must-win game. You can't lose that game. And all the credit to everybody on the UCF team. You gave us a great experience. That was a top 10 sporting event for me to attend that. And the atmosphere, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. I mean, people can hate on the bounce house. All they want, it is one of the best atmospheres to experience. I get it. You have the SEC schools, you have Florida, you have Tennessee. Those are great atmospheres. I'm not taking anything away from it. But I think most people that come to the bounce house leave and say, wow, that was an experience that I'll probably remember forever. So credit to Night Nation. You guys killed it. Let's make sure the student section stay packed the entire game next time. We'd appreciate that. But incredible performance by the team. We will be back on Thursday for your Memphis preview. Big game. The next 4, they're all big games. Conference championship aspirations are in sight. and we could still get what we want out of this season, let's go get it. I mean, what are we doing? Let's go get a conference title and say bye-bye to the American and say hello to the Big 12. Let's do that. Sorry, Cincy. You stink. You stink. I said what I said, and I'm sticking to it. I'm not saying Tulane stinks. I think Tulane's actually pretty good, but Cincy stinks. All right. I want to thank Nick as always. Great co-host. And thank you for tuning in to Charge On. We love the support. We love everything you guys have been saying to us. And we just want to keep bringing you content. That's all what this is about. We're all fans here, and we've got a lot of great content coming up. And it's all thanks to this team. We appreciate this team for giving us some good content. This has been Charge On presented by Bet Online. We will see you on Thursday.